Hello, brethren. Welcome to Masonic Network Live. Today is April 3rd, 2020. This is our third broadcast coming to you live. I'm Brother Dustin of Boggs Lodge, number 292, Grand Lodge of Ohio, here in the United States. And before introducing Brother Yuri, I'd like to go over just a really quick disclaimer. We had a couple of individuals comment on our first and our second broadcast, just wanting some very relevant and valid information. So we want to disclose that here at the very beginning. But all brothers on the panel are regular Freemasons from regular jurisdictions. That's number one. Number two, the opinion shared by brothers is their own and not of their Grand Lodge. And lastly, number three, Masonic Network is privately operated by Freemasons and does not represent a Grand Lodge. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Brother Yuri. Take it away, brother.
Hi, Dustin. Hello, brethren. Welcome again to another episode of Masonic Network Live. And this is our third episode. I'm a member of Internet Lodge 9659 under the United Grand Lodge of England, and a former member of San Giorgio 146 under the Grand Regular Lodge of Italy. Okay, so today we are talking about brotherhood. It's a really interesting concept, the brotherhood, and it was introduced to us by Brother Emiliano Bartolozzi at one of our discussions that we had last week. And we said, yeah, we should talk about that because, yeah, Freemasonry is a brotherhood, but what is brotherhood? Also joining us today is Brother Ed Pisani Jr. He is the owner of Freemasonry Report, a channel on YouTube, and as well as a website. So here is Brother Ed, and I will let him introduce himself. Hi, Brother Ed. How are you?
Good morning, my brothers, or good afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you right now. But yes, my name is Ed Pisani Jr., and I have a YouTube channel, Instagram channel, Facebook channel, and a website, a blog about Freemasonry. And I try to answer questions. Last year, I was the worshipful master of my Masonic Lodge, and there was a lot of questions that were asked. And I was like, man, how cool would it be if I just had a warehouse where I could just be like, hey, there's an answer for you. This is the answer. Here it is. From simple stuff of what direction should you wear your Masonic ring to more challenging things like guns in the lodge, money in the lodge, and what you expect when you first visit a lodge for the first time as someone that's a guest, and how you should dress. These are just things that I thought were useful. That I sort of go on tangents now and again. I just sort of think to myself, what other interesting things should brothers consider, and just try to be a valuable resource. I've been a Mason for about 17, 18 years now. I got raised back in 2002, 2000 timeframe, 2003. And I was a member. I started my Masonic journey in Mount Dora Lodge, number 238 in the Grand Lodge of Florida. I am a perpetual member there, and I am very proud to say that I joined Landmark Lodge number 383 in the Grand Lodge of Florida and raised my father as a Master Mason a few years ago. And after that, the brothers took advantage of having a little talent, and I went through the line, helped them as treasurer, helped them as junior warden, senior warden, and then worshipful master. I'm also a member of the Scottish Rite, perpetual member in the Valley of Orlando. Very proud to be a member there. Great fraternity. I'm also a perpetual member in the York Rite in the chapter. And I'm a tall cedar, and I'm an active dad for my daughter's Rainbow Pledge program. So early on, when I was in my 20s and I was a very young man, I saw the value of the DeMolay program, the Rainbow program, and the other Masonic youth programs. And I said, one day, if I have a child, I get married, and I settle down, I definitely want my child to be involved in the Masonic youth programs. So the first chance I got, I jumped on it, and I had a very responsive mother advisor. So thank you, Mom Lisa, for allowing my daughter to join and bring some of her friends in as well. And I just am really thrilled to have the opportunity to do these things for Freemasonry. I started the Freemasonry Report a little bit based upon just I got into a car accident, and I got tail-ended, and I was going for a treatment every morning, and I had this dead time. I'm an entrepreneur, so I had a little bit of time, and I was like, I'm going to write a blog every morning, and I'm going to come up with blog ideas every morning. I'm going to like do something Masonic every morning, and I just committed that time. So back, I would say like October, November, I just started just quietly, just typing, just putting things together, answering questions, asking people like, what do you want to know about? And it just started to snowball. And in the early part of this year, December, January, I started the YouTube channel. And I said, how cool would it be just to videotape myself and put myself out there, just give them short blurps, like 5 to 15 minutes long about this information. And then they can go back and read my novels, because I'm writing like 1,000 to like 8,000 word article blog post. And I started putting those out there, and I noticed there was a positive reaction, but I was like, there has to be a really cool way to engage more brothers. Recently, I did an Instagram channel where I just take images like of Masonic rings, Masonic whatever, and I Photoshop them because I do that for a living. So I said, how cool would it be if I just do a little graphic design and I share that on Instagram? And I generally get 30 to 50 likes, sometimes in the 20s, just on the photo stuff. And it, it's just for funsies. It's not a nonprofit organization. It's not even a business. It's just kind of like my little passion project. And so it's nice, and it's something that's fulfilling now that I'm not in the East and I have free time.
Well, Brother Ed, one of the things I wanted to make sure I asked is, when you were starting your YouTube channel,
Yes.
and you started with one follower, and then somebody else shared it and said, hey, this is cool. And then you started to grow your audience. Who knew? But who knew at that point in time when you did that, that would be sitting here today, where brethren from around the world are forced to sit at home, and what an amazing tool you've provided, for individuals who are Masons, or even individuals who might want to become our future Masons, to be able to leverage, something on video. So I'm sure you had no idea that what you were creating, of course, was important, but even more so now, while the world sits at home waiting for COVID-19 to subside.
Yeah.
You know how we reached out to him? Well, actually, I reached out to Ed because of that video about guns in the lodge.
Yes.
It was about, what was the topic? Remind me. It was concealed carry in lodge, I think, or something.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
this guy has stirred such an interest and stirred our community on the group like crazy. No other article has stirred people as much. You could see those that I'm all about even open carrying, and probably those were from Texas. And you had the English people that haven't carried the gun in their whole life. They would be like, no way, that's taboo. What, guns? No. Beautiful thing. I mean, the approach is nice.
Thank you.
People may or may not agree with that, but nevertheless, Masonic Network is about open discussion. It's about discussing things without offending each other. You want to discuss about religion, fine, but do not offend the religion of another. If you want to discuss about carrying guns, do that without offending a brother. That's important, because, we can always learn new things independently of whether you agree with them or not, but there's knowledge in it. And even if it's about guns, brotherhood, or whatever, as long as you don't offend anyone, that's fine. And that's what your channel does. Amazing content, and it stirs attention. That's what it does.
Yeah, I try to make sure that everything I do is peaceful in nature and brings harmony to a lot of people's hearts and their brotherhood. And so that's like kind of one of my key points is I like to do something and just not make it any way uncomfortable. And I always give thumbs up and thank people for the feedback, whatever feedback they give, because I just love reading it. It's just so amazing when people sort of engage a little and give their perspective of reality. I just enjoy it.
Well, again, what an amazing tool as a father and son, or in your case, a father and daughter might be sitting at home in quarantine, and to be able to engage in a video and then have your child say, and have it come from them, not the parent forcing it on the child, but the child being inquisitive and curious and saying, hey, Dad, tell me more about what a Mason is. You know, what an amazing tool you have been able to provide, especially now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like I am in a household of all females. I got a female dog, a female daughter. My wife obviously is a beautiful woman, and so I get all types of interesting feedback. But I'm always like sharing what I do with my daughter because the process of how I do things is really helpful because she sees the editing, she sees the prep work that I do, and she's like, Dad, why are you doing it just that way? And I was like, well, I want it to be really good because I want to make a good impression. And I want to have good, everything work right. I don't want my microphone to go bad during the actual presentation. So it's like little itty bitties, and she gets excited, and she's a first grader. So I can only go so far. She's by far one of the youngest Rainbow Pledges. But the cool thing is I have a chance to teach her memory work because she really couldn't read yet. So that was really interesting. And getting her lines down when we were just driving into school in the morning, I would drive her into her elementary school and she would nail the lines. I would sit there and she just had it down, and she knew when someone else made a mistake because she was like, she just knew. And I was like, wow, this is exciting. And I'm just thankful that the Rainbow Assembly is so gracious to have us involved, and thankful that the Florida is just a great place to be a Freemason.
Well, Brother Ed, you just said during your drive into school with your daughter, my assumption is that your state is in quarantine, so the children of Florida are currently not going to school, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're in the lockdown until May, but this is in the past. So a lot of my stories, it's kind of like when you listen to me, it's like watching The Witcher, the Netflix show. You don't know where in the timeline I'm talking about. So it's just like at the end, you're like, oh, okay, he was talking about something that was 9 months ago now. But
well, and I just wanted our audience to know, since we have people joining from literally all across this beautiful world of ours, that here in the United States, you know, being in Ohio, my kids have been at home for a couple of weeks, and, you know, trying to be creative and generate things for them to do during the school day where they're normally at school. It's been a real strain on parents around the globe, but also a very scary time. So what is something that you're doing as a parent with your child, either related to Freemasonry or not? What is something creative that you've done as a parent to help pass some of that idle time?
But in general, like I try to make sure I'm on the same page with my wife at all times. That's like step number one. My wife. Yeah, exactly. She's an educator. She has a doctorate degree in education. She's like the go-to person for all things education. And then I just try to make sure she has fun. I go back to the basics of like, what's something fun and easy. I grabbed a big thing of M&Ms, and we made a pizza-size M&M cookie. And then I got like a brownie mix, and we put the M&Ms in the brownie mix. These are the basic blocking and tackling things that I just think are fun. And who doesn't like to eat? It's a known thing in Freemasonry that we enjoy food first and most of all, and then we enjoy our fellowship and our brotherhood. But it brings everyone together. So I try to make food in there, and then just keep on a schedule, and just sort of saying, just because we're in the house, and I have an open house, so I have no walls. So if you see my dog walk by, or you see my wife in the background, I just have nowhere to hide. Yeah.
We're not anything secret on any of these calls.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have two other speakers waiting, and one of them is quite annoyed about the fact that he has to wait.
Now, would that be John? Is John annoyed?
Yeah, he is. So I'm introducing John Meek, the guy in Bulgaria.
Hey, Brother John.
How are you?
No, I'm not annoyed. I just got messing with my phone for a minute. No, not annoyed at all. I got messing with my phone a minute, so I wanted to see if I could leave a comment. And it worked.
It worked, yay. Well, let me introduce Emiliano really quick. He's actually, this is
Hello, everybody.
here, Emiliano Bartolozzi from Italy. We've
Yeah.
had him. This is the third time we have him on our live show, and
Only because of the audience. Because the audience said we
I know.
with
I know you need me. I know.
we need
yeah,
you.
and he's the culprit of today's topic. And
Yeah.
yes, you are. And today's topic is the concept of brotherhood. You proposed it. You start talking about it because I have no idea how to start today's show.
It's not an easy topic, and it's one of the most misunderstood, I suppose. When no Masons think to us, they usually think that maybe they don't have a clear view of what is a lodge, how does it work, and sometimes brotherhood is not believed to be only brotherhood, but it's supposed to be something dark, something that they help each other against the other, okay, to do some tricky games against. This is very common in many countries, especially Latin countries, and this is totally wrong.
There are no.
In my opinion, what is brotherhood? Brotherhood is the love and energy that connect the brothers, the members of the lodge. And how it expresses itself. Helping each other, of course, but in a way that is legal, of course. So if a brother is in danger or is in help, you have to assist him. You have a moral issue to help him. This doesn't mean to go against the law to make something in favor of another brother. Okay, just this to be clear enough. Once a brother did to me an example that I want to make to you, to express to you. If you think to Freemasonry as a triangle, and you put the great architect on the top of the triangle, you on the base left, and so high on the base left, and you on the right side of the triangle, we may say the brotherhood is the line that connects I and you. So you to the other brothers of the lodge, which is interesting point of view. It's also maybe an energy when we make a ritual, which is not only a meeting of people. There is an energy that connects all of us, and you can feel it. That's why when you come out of the lodge, you feel better than before you enter the lodge, usually. You know?
Always.
Which is one of the reasons why we make ritual meetings. And I understand that this is difficult to believe or to trust from people which are not brothers, but I suppose it's quite easy to understand by the brothers. I remember once John gave a lecture on a similar topics, and I was hit by his lecture. It was very interesting. Not always, brother. Unfortunately, we are not perfect, and sometimes we are wrong, and sometimes we behave against even our moral issues. I have an example, just to share with you, which is it comes from the 1913, so more than last century, beginning of last century, past century. Okay, this is an electoral poster. You know, when there are elections, political elections, there were posters on the walls of the cities. In the past century, you're not TV, you're not radio, things like this. Okay. So what I say is that one of the guy who was running for being a deputy in the Italian parliament did this poster to attack his competitor, Mr. Sanarelli. And so he writes in this poster, do you know who is Mr. Sanarelli? I tell you is him. He's a Freemason that belongs to the Lodge Cairoli of Arezzo, which is my lodge. This research was done by brother Roberto. I'm very grateful to him. He did an investigation on the bibliothèque. It was very good lecture. I finished for you to translate. He voted for the divorce. The fact is a Freemason mean doesn't have a moral. It goes against your religion. Blah 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 blah. Okay. We found on this investigation that this guy, Mr. La Peña, was also a Mason of another lodge. So they both were Masons, telling each other, he's a Mason, Okay. So not always, unfortunately, in our history, brotherhood has been respected. Okay. So what can we do? We can try to be better, and to make these things then remain in the bibliothèque, and somebody one day will tell, these stupid guys were, playing these games. I really trust brotherhood, and I finish in a few seconds. Many years ago, when I was a young brother, I just started my work. I had a family problem. Okay. Strong. Why? Because I knew that if I was in danger, any danger, I could ask my brothers everything that they would have helped me. And I was sure of this. I did not even need to. I could come out of the trouble by myself without asking. But it did me stronger to know that the brothers would help me anyway, anytime. And that's it. I finished.
Let me tell you a story, because the MasonicNetwork.org was actually started by me back in 2009 out of an idea in 2008. I had this crazy by then idea to create sort of like a Facebook for Freemasons, more than a forum. It should have been a tiled environment for people to connect. Started the Facebook page, started everything, but I sort of left it organic. There was a ton of work in maintaining the website, because you had to verify every single member being a Freemason. Mm-hmm. Brethren came in and started helping, but that's the story is not this. I started the website when the world banking crisis was just starting, with all of the crap that Lehman Brothers did and all of this stuff. People were, just like today, people were being laid off like crazy. So here's a brother from Connecticut who basically wrote a message on the board inside saying, guys, I have a problem. I really don't know what to do. I'm about to lose my house. I have a daughter and just a newborn daughter with my wife. I have no idea where to go. And he didn't ask for money. That's interesting. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't say anything. So another brother from Tennessee reaches out and says, brother, if you agree to do this and that, I have a job for you. So the brother from Connecticut didn't lose his house. He got a job. Yes, he did have to fly to Tennessee and work there, but who cares? I mean, you need to save your home and family, and that's what a brother would do. And a year after, I was being asked about Masonic Network and the Masonic legality of such a website, if it should exist, and by high-ranking officers. And I said, why not? I mean, it's not representing a Grand Lodge. It's not representing any political part of Freemasonry. It's just doing, it's helping brethren from around the world connect. That's it. It's them who are supposed to decide whether the brother they're talking to is regular or not. not the website. We're not doing that. And then they said, no, you should probably consider taking it down. And I said, no, I won't. I would leave my lodge if I have to, but I'm keeping the website up. And then I was asked why. And then I told them the story about the brother in Connecticut not losing his house thanks to that website. And it was enough for me. That was enough. The website did its job. So that's brotherhood. That's what when you ask the concept of brotherhood, what does it mean? And it reminds me years back, I think about 9 years ago, His Royal Highness, the Duke of Kent, the Grand Master of United Grand Lodge of England, had a speech. And he says, I'm a single child, but I have 6 million brothers around the world. And that's what reminds me that I do, and so does Dustin, and so does Ed, and so does John and Emiliano. We all have around 6 million brothers in the world. And the square and compass unites us, and the magic words, as I like to call them, unite us as well. And I know that wherever we are, we will help each other in the name of brotherhood.
I think it's important to mention also that the Masonic Network does not replace anything. It doesn't replace attending your live meetings. It's another tool in our toolbox. And I love the testimonial that you just gave, because that's just one of many, many, many testimonials that have taken place. I know we receive a lot of private messages that we don't share because they're private, but there's a lot more testimonials than just that one that you mentioned. But I just want to make sure that those sitting at home or wherever they were around the world, especially in leadership positions, understood that the Masonic Network is not here to replace anything. It is here to help.
Yeah, and Dustin and I are and we have to say it, we are the partners in crime at Masonic Network. It is what it is. Calling it regular or irregular is out of question, and I've received way too many comments about it being irregular. Does it mean? I mean, we should have an episode of this live about regularity and irregularity, and I'd like John to speak on that because he has a ton of experience with regards to that. Because recently,
it's a zoo. The whole topic is a zoo. It's doable. It's a zoo.
Open up that can of worms.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it is.
I just gave a lecture on that Friday. I gave a lecture on that.
An online lecture, I'm assuming.
Yes.
It was fully tiled for one specific group that wanted it. So I gave it, but it was a zoo just to try to explain the whole thing: regularity, recognition, Amity, not Amity the app, not Amityville, but Masonic Amity. It's doable.
John, I want to use what you just mentioned as a jumping off point. We'll just put a pin in that and come back to it. But for next week's episode, we received some interest in individuals leveraging technology to stay connected, but in much smaller pools. So right now, throughout the world, your lodge cannot meet. You're at home just like we are, or at your small office or wherever. There's a couple of electronic platforms that you can use privately. One of the ones that we use is Zoom, Zoom. They recently got a little bit of a backlash in the news where they were giving out the URL to join a meeting, giving it to the public. And there were some people in the public that would come on and cause some disruption. And there's some really, really easy ways to mitigate that, where you're only giving the link to people in your lodge and your password protecting the ability to get on. Now, we're not using Zoom right now for this live broadcast, but for next week, if you have interest, I want you to put your interest in the comments section. If you have interest in receiving, I'm wanting to provide this to you to help you. I do not own stock in Zoom. This is all just to help brothers from around the world. And it's not just that one platform. There's many different platforms that you can use. But if you'd like some assistance in creating private links for your lodge to meet, very similar to how we're meeting here, but in a very private setting, let us know in the comment section. And either next week or the week after, we can have that be a topic of discussion to show you how to some of those tools that are widely available. Some of the tools are even free. So if it's a cost that you're worried about, we can show you some of the free versions as well. But I wanted to just kind of piggyback off of what you were talking about, Brother John, about a lecture where it was a tiled environment, and being able to do the same, but on a global scene, to where you and your lodge can still have the ability to meet, very similar to how we're meeting, but in privacy. So thanks for reminding.
Could I weigh in a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I always kind of look at it from an operational perspective, and my one word of caution would be I would definitely recommend you reach out to your Grand Secretary to find out what limitations you need to have or you need to do if you are going to do one of those specialized meetings, because each Grand Lodge, Grand Master has jurisdiction of your activity in your lodge. So you don't want to accidentally stub your toe trying to do something that's a positive. So just make sure that you definitely get out and you connect with your Grand Secretary, place that phone call, find out, email him, and what limitations you want to consider. Because I know for our lodge, we have a social chat area for our brothers on a Facebook Messenger group, and it works fine, but that does not allow us to actually have a tiled meeting in any shape or form, because in the Grand Lodge of Florida, we are literally just dark for this month. So that's important. I know if Grand Lodge of Florida is that way, how is it in other places around the country or around the world?
Probably very similar. And not to conduct an actual meeting, but to get people that are used to getting together a couple of times a month, to still get them together, and whatever they wind up talking about, then yes, that should wind up going through the secretary. So thanks for weighing in on that. Well said.
Thank you.
A lot of lodges I'm involved in use a program called Viber. It's a chat program, but it keeps us connected, make sure everybody's alive and breathing and that kind of thing. So it's the Western European version, and American version would be WhatsApp.
Well, while Dustin was talking about Zoom, you see on screen a comment from Alan Breward. He's the immediate past master from my lodge. Well, thank you, Alan, for joining us. And sorry you had to leave, but you see what he's saying. Sorry, I have to leave as I have Zoom meetings for my Mark Lodge. So that is working, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Meanwhile, Mark Albee, who was with us, I mean, I've seen comments from him. Unfortunately, webcams are in extremely short supply right now. Yeah,
can I weigh in on that as well? I use my phone camera half the time. I all my YouTube videos are literally done from this beautiful little Galaxy Samsung that I have, and I'm not a fanboy for Samsung. I'm just sort of sharing that, putting that out there. That's how I do all my videos, and I just edit them afterwards. So if you have a smartphone, you should be good to go.
Well, and you don't even need a camera. You can join the Zoom calls just with a telephone by calling into a number with no video. So it is a little bit versatile in that respect.
Yep.
Great.
I miss the ritual meetings, guys. I miss the ritual meetings.
True.
Really, actually, I really miss them. It's 1 month I'm locked at home, so probably the next month will be the same. And we hope to make the next meeting of the lodge for San John in June.
Nice.
Hopefully. Well, I miss the other brothers,
and what
we are connected, we talk, and we unfortunately it's difficult to make everything by technology.
True.
Sometimes you have to be to have the presence of the brothers.
Well, Emiliano,
We have
there's
a couple of
so much. There's so much that's still unknown about this COVID-19, about social distancing, flattening the curve, becoming reinfected after the fact, individuals who build up an immunity, individuals who don't. So there's still so much that we do know, but so much more that we don't know in terms of how it will affect social gatherings. And that's, you know, that's what when we're going to lodge meetings, it is a gathering. So it really remains unknown as to what the long-term effects are going to be on a global scene. And we can't sit here and you know, begin to predict the future, but we can, with a high degree of certainty, say that life the way that we knew it in the past, in some way, shape, or form, will be different in the future in terms of how we interact with one another. And that's just, it's very unfortunate, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a negative. We can look for ways to you know, to come up with alternatives.
I just want to sort of share a little bit my perspective. I have two of them. First one, to bounce off of what you said. A lot of times when we have these major worldwide catastrophes, we actually come out better on the other end. You look at Sputnik as an example, and that actually now led us to having satellites all over the world where we can communicate just like this. And on the other side of it, when we do get back in, I think one of the best things that we could do is like a rusty nail degree. I don't know if you know what that is. That's just where you refresh everyone on the degree work and you bring everyone back together and harmonize. And just get everyone off on the right foot. But I mean, that's just a spitball idea I'm throwing up on the wall.
I love that idea. That's a great idea.
You know, we have the checkered floor and lodge, and we know what that means. Black and white, you know, not everything that's bad is really bad. So maybe sometimes what's bad is for you, for the better. I want to spice up the discussion a little bit. And be prepared. Guns in lodge. So this guy makes, okay, this one, let me make this guy makes a video and calls it, should you carry a gun into your blue lodge? And he sparks such an interest on our group. And so does on YouTube. People liking it, people not liking it. I mean, we can agree or disagree. Besides, some of us being European Masons, we're not really allowed to have a lethal weapon. I mean, at least in Romania, it's forbidden. In Italy, it's really hard to get a weapon for self-defense. You only can have it for sports.
A lawyer may have it.
Yeah, you're a criminal lawyer. That's why you can have it.
Well, and you're,
you know, but I've applied 3 times and was refused.
Wow.
3 times, really?
3 times, and the carabinieri called me up and were like, "Why do you need to do? I don't know, just go and shoot." Nah.
Well, and living here in the United States, you know, I'm as a veteran, as a military police officer veteran, I carry concealed almost every day, and it's not because I'm scared of anything, but it's almost like it's part of a social responsibility, because God, there are bad people out there, no matter where you live. So anyways, I enjoyed the article, and we at our lodge, you know, it is not forbidden to carry open carry or concealed carry at our lodge in Ohio, as an example.
You know, I kind of look at the gun issue as being just a way of life in America. I was a Cub Scout, and at 6 years old, I got a chance to shoot a BB gun, and it was on a range. And ever since then, I've been very active with firearms, and I think there's nothing dangerous about them when they're in the hands of someone that's trained and educated and smart about it. So I thought it was useful, because there was a lot of brothers out there that do like talking about guns, and they do enjoy just even having that fraternal aspect of it. I mean, I got follow-up things of like, could you do some videos about the holsters? And I thought that was really cool. It just is it's it's kind of very much also one of those things that's a hot button issue where when you talk about it, you do have visceral reactions. I've
Right.
done other videos like on leadership, on other things, and the views are down. Very, very good content of like planning your meeting a month ahead of time. But the visceral reaction isn't there when you say, okay, gun and lodge, boom, people are instantaneously like, they emotionally respond because half of them are saying, like me, I've had a gun in my hand since I was 6, or in my house since I was a baby, and the other half are like, no, that's not the case. And you have other people that are weighing in saying, what are you talking about? I'm on the other side of the planet. We are not allowed to have a gun, and they're trying to outlaw having a pocket knife at the moment. So but you have just a wide range of ideas on it. But I'm glad that people sort of responded well to it. I just I love reading the feedback and everyone giving me their perspective of reality.
But Tyler is a heavy sleeper. I love it.
Worship Brother Jay, and good seeing you again.
You see the interest that it sparks. Ziga, I think, is from Serbia.
Zdravo,
Slovenia.
kako ste?
I think
He's
he's
from Slovenia.
from Slovenia. Yeah, I think he's you see, he's asking, and then I have a brother from Romania, Corneliu Vaida. Salut, Corneliu. Excuse me, but in these days, you think that this topic about carrying a gun in a lodge is actually interesting for most of us? No, it's just that Ed made this article months ago. I think, when was it?
It was about a month ago.
Yeah,
I do weekly
before the COVID struck most of the European countries.
Yeah,
and it sparked in our group. We have a group on Facebook. It sparked such an interest. There were 121 comments on it. People fighting, people asking, why would you need a gun? Someone saying, I don't need a gun at all. Someone said, but it's a lodge, they're brethren, why would you bring a gun? And then another one says, you know what? They shot a brother in lodge. And so it started. So that's why I wanted to spice it up. It's not about being actual or not. It's about talking.
Yeah, and having the conversation, having the discourse is what the brotherhood is about. If we can't talk as brothers on a level plane, we have serious issues as a fraternity. One of the reasons why I joined the fraternity is just that fellowship and that ability to know I'm going to be talking to people and getting their opinions and respecting their opinions and having them respect mine, because we are Masons. We all did go through the regular form of becoming a Master Mason, and we've all been there. We've all done that. So all these conversations now, to me, are just interesting conversations. And if you're pro-gun, you're anti-gun, you don't even know what a gun is, that's fine. I just love to hear the responses.
And Tom just made a comment, and I, as a fellow and former law enforcement officer, why do mass shooters target schools and churches? It's because no one there is armed, and yeah, in a lot of cases, that is the case. Yeah. But not to get off on too many different tangents, because today's topic was brotherhood remains brotherhood, and for future broadcasts, it will always have that overtone, which is why we're all gathered here. It is because of that brotherhood. But we could be sitting here talking about to the point of nauseam what we're all thinking about, which is a global pandemic, and we could spend our 45 minutes speaking just about that in this time, but we choose to acknowledge it. But it's, you're getting flooded with enough information on your channels, on your social media feeds about the obvious, about the COVID-19 pandemic. So yes, it's still very relevant to address it and talk about what we're all dealing with together as a global community. And I think that's maybe one of the overtones of one of those last comments was, why are we talking about guns? There's people dying right now. COVID-19. So yes, that is a very real topic and not one to be discounted. But it's something that we discussed on our first and our second broadcast, and we can continue to have that conversation. But the goal is to talk about other things that interest us. But I just want to say, and we're not. Let's see, what time is it? 45. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and probably call the meeting here shortly. But before we do, I just wanted to take just a moment to thank Brother Ed, for joining us. I was not, before a couple of days ago, I was not familiar with your YouTube channel. And after checking it out, the content there is very relevant, very tastefully put together. And I just want to say thank you. So I just see that as being a great tool for our fraternity, for people who are interested in becoming Freemasons, because at the end of the day, we use that hashtag in social media, which is hashtag replace yourself, because our numbers are going down opposed to going up. And the only way we can have those numbers at least stabilized or go back up is by sharing all that's great about Freemasonry, and your YouTube channel and your work helps to accomplish a lot of that. So just from me personally, I just want to say thank you for all that you do to share who we are and what we do. Ed.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the show. I've enjoyed this immensely. If I could tell one thing to all the listeners today, is pick up the phone and call up your brothers. Call 3 brothers tonight, and then call a widow. Call a youth member of one of the youth programs and have a conversation with them, just like we did here today, and just talk to them, do a wellness check, do just a stress check, and just see if they need anything. I mean, shoot, if you have a homebound widow, you can run over some milk and bread to them, and that helps them immensely. Leave it at their front door and be that brother.
So Ed, instead of making that a suggestion where somebody might hear that and say, oh, that's a good idea, why don't we make it a pledge? And everybody watching, whether it's right now live or whether it's a week from now, everyone take what Ed just put out there into the universe, and we take that as a pledge where everybody watching agrees to do that. What do you think about that, Ed?
I love it, and I love the brotherhood of this platform. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ed. Thank you for all that you are doing, and that's exactly it. It was like my speech from last time, because in the meanwhile, I lost brethren from my lodges. A brother from my mother lodge passed last week because of COVID-19. Earlier in the last month, another brother died. I know Emiliano lost brothers from their lodge in Arezzo.
From close to Arezzo, not my lodge. Fortunately.
Nevertheless, by the time it's all over and we're back in lodge, we will find out that many brethren are absent. And that's why, pick up the phone, call the brother, call a widow, at least once a week. I mean, it doesn't require much. 5 minutes, check on them and ask if they're safe and healthy.
We all have one of these in our pocket.
Yes, we do. So do that, brethren. In the meanwhile, I want to thank Emiliano and John. They're not part of Masonic Network yet. But nevertheless, they join us. We approached them actually to come on the show the first time because they are published authors. John has an immense Masonic experience in many countries. I wish I was at least 10% as much as he is. He is also, I'd say, the founder or the one who brought the Widow Sons to Bulgaria. Nice. He rides. Last time on the show, he actually wore a T-shirt and something else with the Widow's Son. Amazing person, Emiliano, thank you. I wish we could meet up for an aperitivo somewhere in Arezzo or in Genoa. Doesn't matter. I miss Italy a lot, and I miss my brothers there. Stay safe. Dustin, even though we've known each other for so long, we never met in person. Thank God for internet.
One day.
I can say something.
We were supposed to meet, but fucking COVID took it away from us.
May I give a news? May I give a news just for a few seconds?
Yeah.
So the brothers of the lodges of my city, Arezzo, tomorrow will make a donation to the local hospital, which are 5 ventilators.
Wow.
In this moment, the ventilators are needed by everywhere in Italy because so many people are infected and the older people needed to breathe.
Mhm.
So tomorrow we will make this donation, and I think also this express what we mean for brotherhood. So to be all together, the brothers, but even for the useful for the people around us.
Again,
Yeah.
going back to the topic of today's talk, brotherhood. Yes, what we covered today was about brotherhood in the lodge and among brethren, Freemasons. But brotherhood is not only that. Brotherhood is about helping the other person, whether it's Christian help or whether it's you as a Muslim helping another Muslim, or whether as a Jew you help another Jew, or even as a Jew help another Christian. We are human beings, and we are brethren to each other, independent of the fact whether we belong to Freemasonry or any other fraternity. And in times of sorrow like now with COVID, the pandemic around the world, you see how enemies start helping each other. Russia sending help to the United States, China sending help to Italy. A Russia that was viewed as an enemy of NATO is sending help to Italy. We need to forget about boundaries. We need to forget about enemies because we are human. We have only one planet, and that's brotherhood, helping each other, not letting each other die, and yeah.
And Yuri, I'd like to close with just one final request to anyone watching live or anyone watching after the broadcast. But we exist here for you. We're not here for our health. We're here to share a piece of us with you. And the only way that we can continue to do this is by having other speakers like Brother Ed join us, or suggestions for topics that our community would like to hear. So please make use of the chat box here on social media. Please recognize that your comments, may be read by Masons and non-Masons, but we'd like to hear from you. We'd love to hear your comments, whether you like the show, whether you think the show is not good. Regardless of the comment, we would love to hear from you. But we would like for those of you who have content to share with our community around the globe to raise your hand and say, I'd like to come on to a future broadcast, or here's something I'd like to learn about. If you can make use of the comment section, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm Brother Dustin, and we have Brother Yuri, and we have our panelist, and from Ohio, Brother Dustin is signing off. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, brethren. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Emiliano. Thank you, John. Next week on April 10th, again at noon Eastern, we should be meeting Brother Mike Lawrence, a published author from England, a member of the United Green Lodge of England, with amazing articles, Freemasonry related. We will be announcing the broadcast next week. So make sure to join us, tune in, and thank you for all your comments and for watching us. Thank you again, brethren. Do not forget to visit Ed's website, freemasonryreport.com. You should watch his videos. They're really nice. Thank you, Ed, again for joining us on such short notice. And until next week, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.